This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Don't talk to me about WrestleMania. I don't want to talk about it. I'm still coping. I'm still salty about it. As much free publicity as I gave them, as much promotion as I gave them here on my stream, as much hype as I put behind WrestleMania, it was like it was booked to like make Justin as disappointed as possible. So that was my WrestleMania weekend, and I'm not high enough for this shit. At least the Pope died. That's how mad the Pope was that my arch nemesis won on Saturday night. He couldn't even make it through Sunday night. Flash, DJ Dub, my lord, warlord, let's fucking go. Welcome in, friends. We got a lot of news to cover. The news be doing stupid shit, as always. And tonight we're doing Best of Coachella for Live Music Monday, so I'm really excited for that. I want to get through the news and get to Live Music Monday. That's my goal, but I'm not going to let you down. It's going to be a jam-packed show as always. Is Pete Hegseth on his way out as Defense Secretary? Maybe. The news outlet earlier today reported that a little too soon, possibly. There was a courthouse shootout in Houston. We got fucking video of it. A bond remains in place for an accused shooter in Dallas. And I think we got video of his shooting that took place, I think it was last week. Students who knew the FSU shooter, I guess still know him because he's still alive. He's a Nazi. Surprise, surprise. A man with a chainsaw went through a neighborhood in California, and as far as I can tell, he was trying to be helpful. He just trimmed the shrubs. But it apparently scared some people. Nadine Menendez. Do you know who Nadine Menendez is? She is the wife of Bob Goldbars Menendez, and like her husband, she is now going to be spending some time behind bars. Child actor Haley Joel Osment was arrested during a ski resort weekend. Apparently dropped some anti-Semitic slurs at the cops. A couple weeks ago, we played a town hall in Idaho where a private security firm assaulted a woman. Charges have been filed. A lawsuit has been filed. We're getting some action. Christy Nome over the weekend. And by the way, she could be my GOP mommy. Carla, welcome in. Christy Nome had her purse stolen at a D.C. restaurant. Democrats made a trip down to El Salvador. 4 Democrats went down today. Apparently were denied the ability to bring Abrego Garcia back with them. I like crazy, my lord. I like crazy. Harvard sues the Trump administration. Officials from Japan came to the White House to speak about trade deals in good faith. Apparently decided that the White House wasn't serious and just walked the fuck out. The markets continued to tumble today. Megyn Kelly responds to Michelle Obama's attempt to try to shoot down divorce rumors. And Kanye West used to suck his cousin's dick. All that and a lot friggin' more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening. Here's your meme of the day. Carla loves that for Christy Nome, that she can be my GOP mommy. I think he meant the purse, but I went with the me and my GOP mommy. Thank you guys to everyone who joined me yesterday for the 5th anniversary of the Troll Patrol Live. I feel like that was probably the least spectacular anniversary spectacular I put forward. However, it was a solid show. I enjoyed it. I got to be self-indulgent about women that I have a crush on that are very problematic. We wished Joni Ernst a happy Easter. We watched a spectacular police chase. We saw some wrestling-related content with Liv Morgan getting arrested. Tom McDonald, we watched a Tom McDonald match. I didn't know that Tom McDonald was a wrestler. We watched him tell his story. And then we watched one of his matches. It was a very entertaining Troll Patrol pleads the 5th anniversary. Live spectacular. I'm sorry, Carla. I have a problem. I'm just going to leave it there. I have a problem. Oh. Or sure, Vance. I got a new chair, but sometimes it pops and the microphone picks it up. The other chair, if I did it in a way that made it like pop, the microphone never picked it up. I might have to work. See, there it did it again. Damn it. But the new chair is so much more comfortable. You should have seen my old chair. My buddy Battle Opossums had it. I'm like, you might want to be careful how you're sitting in it. I know you watched me sit in it all kinds of crazy ways. Sparkle says it's like that from all the audacity that I sit in it with. I guess the big news today is Kanye West used to suck his cousin's. The song is called Cousins. It's about my cousin who was in prison for life for assaulting a pregnant woman. I used to suck his dick until we were 14. And the fact that I'm not making any of that up is just insane. That was like yesterday when everybody kept coming in during the Taylor Business story, and I had to keep explaining who she was. And every time I'm like, the fact that I'm not making any of that up is insane. It actually happened like that. She literally cut off his penis and fucked herself with it. And for some reason, I have a crush on her. Princess Kimberly, good evening. Speaking of those I have a crush on, Alien. The life and legacy of the Pope. And before we get started with the best of Coachella tonight, I have a couple other songs we're going to play in honor of the Pope. Fucking fuck! I muted that yesterday, and now every tab is fucking muted. Stop doing that to me.
Overnight.
It comes just weeks after he was released from the hospital where he was battling a case of double pneumonia.
Pope on a rope, clinically.
Joy Rand has more on the legacy the pontiff's leaving behind.
Pope Francis was elected Supreme Pontiff of the Catholic Church March 13, 2013. It was clear from the moment he emerged from behind the Vatican curtains.
Sounds and looks really gay.
Francis refused the traditional adornments of a new pope, opting instead for humble white robes. It was a sign of what was to come. Francis emphasizing humility and openness with a focus on the poor and oppressed.
Oh man, that sounds Christ-like.
My people are poor and I am one of them.
No wonder all the right-wingers hated him.
He declined the opulent and lavish living quarters of previous popes, instead living in a small apartment on the Vatican grounds and cooking his own meals. He bucked Catholic tradition when it came to things like homosexuality. The leader of the Catholic Church said, "Who am I to judge?" He gave his approval for Catholic priests to bless gay marriages and focused on things like the environment and immigration. His official Vatican biography reads, his project is simple. If you follow Christ, you understand that trampling upon a person's dignity is a serious sin. Pope Francis was born Jose Bergoglio in Argentina in 1936 to Italian.
Pope Jose.
He entered the seminary as a young man and worked as a literature and psychology teacher before becoming a priest in 1969. He rose through the Catholic Church and was named a cardinal in 2001 by Pope John Paul II. He asked the Catholic faithful around the world not to come to Rome to celebrate, but instead donate what they would have spent on the pilgrimage to the poor.
Torgy.
Later, he was part of the conclave that elected Pope Benedict XVI. It was a tumultuous 8 years, fraught with controversy and cover-ups over the child sex abuse scandal within the church. When Benedict became only the 6th pope to ever step down, a new conclave...
Yeah, I kind of feel like they chose this guy because of the child abuse sex scandal. So, you know, they're like, oh, no, we're going to pick a good pope. So we're probably back to a Benedictus-like figure next.
Elected Francis the 266th pope, the first ever from the Americas.
Mr. Speaker, the Pope of the Holy See.
In 2015, Francis visited the U.S., speaking before a joint session of Congress and visiting Ground Zero in New York, laying a flower at the 9/11 memorial.
This nation, under God, might have a new birth of freedom. Building a future of freedom requires love of the common good.
President Trump met with the pontiff during his first term at the Vatican in 2017. A year earlier, the Pope...
I kind of miss Boner now.
...true Christian because of his plans for the border wall. The question now is, will the church continue the movement that Francis has begun or return to a more closed and stricter Catholic doctrine?
Yeah, that.
Jory Rand, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
That would be my prediction.
Pope Francis made history as the first ever Latin American pontiff.
Eyewitness News reporter Monica de Anda live in Atwater Village with more on his lasting impact here in the Southland. Monica.
Rachel, John, good morning. Yeah, this is really heartbreaking news for the Catholic faithful. He had a huge impact on so many communities, but especially the Latin American community.
Huge.
With him being the first Latin American pontiff.
I did make graphics.
And now the
in honor of the Pope.
88-year-old pontiff passed away this morning, and that comes just a day after we saw him. Take a look. You can see here he came out and made an appearance on Easter Sunday from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica.
Holiday. Krell, good evening. Kanye for Pope.
The Pope, who struggled with chronic lung disease, was admitted to the hospital on Valentine's Day and spent 38 days there for a respiratory crisis that developed into double pneumonia. He was released from the hospital almost 5 weeks ago to the relief of Catholics around the world, including this man from Pasadena who I spoke to the morning after the Pope went home from the hospital. Take a listen.
Incredible leader for the entire world about peace.
No, he's not.
About forgiveness, about love. We need more people like Pope Francis around the world at this time of war.
You look like a sleazy piece of shit, dude. What do you know?
Pope Francis was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and made history in 2013 as the first Latin American pontiff to lead the Catholic Church.
Seriously?
He charmed the world.
J.D. Vance breaks everything he touches.
He was a more progressive
including the Pope.
To LGBTQ plus Catholics, meeting and apologizing to sex abuse victims of the church, advocating for refugees and migrants, all while working to reform the scandal-marred Vatican Bank, making trips all around the world, including to Latin America, and always preaching for unity, love, and humility. And again, his impact was just felt around the world. You heard from that man that we spoke to a few weeks ago. I personally spoke to him, and he told me the Pope is like no other Pope that we've had before. He really just wants love, unity, and for everybody to respect each other. He will be deeply missed. Reporting live in Atwater Village, Monica de Anda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah.
I am not looking forward to what is coming, because if you guys are possibly too young to remember, the last time they picked a pope, what was it, 2012, when they picked this one? If you may not remember them picking the last pope, it's a whole ordeal, and I am not looking forward to all the bullshit that we're going to have to go through because they're picking a fucking pope. Because it's a whole ordeal. Did I finally fix it? No, I did not. Fucking fuck. is really getting on my nerves.
Continuing with our faith lead, Pope Francis's sudden death today came as something of a surprise, but his long illness and hospitalization, of course, this year led Vatican watchers to start speculating about who might be chosen as the next pope. Conclave, a movie about intrigue during a papal election, made a big splash not long ago during Oscar season. So we asked CNN's Nick Watt to look ahead and try to sort out fact from fiction.
A new pope to lead the world's 1.4 billion Catholics will be chosen by just around 130 cardinals in a mysterious, many centuries old rite, the conclave, conclave, with key.
They're locked into the Vatican, and all their phones are taken away. They're not allowed to communicate with the outside world until they elect a pope.
Every cardinal under the age of 80 is summoned to Rome for this and must swear an oath of secrecy, punishable by excommunication.
It's a secret ballot. The cardinals don't even know who voted for whom.
Father Reese says the movie Conclave got it almost right.
You have to commit to a side.
Except
I've not seen it.
The elected cardinal would never be allowed in, and the cardinal's robes were slightly the wrong color.
I think Hollywood got it better.
I do not care who the Pope is either, DJ Dub. That's why I do not look forward to
silence and prayer in the
all the Pope and circumstance
Michelangelo's magnificent ceiling
that we're getting ready to see over the next few weeks.
Until one candidate wins 2/3 of the ballots. By night, they stay in a boarding house nearby where the...
Like, I'm a news guy. We're gonna have to look at the smoke a couple nights.
Pushing for the candidate that they would like to see become pope. Your friends have to do that for you. You cannot do that yourself. That would indicate a level of pride.
What's Barney Fife doing up in here?
Acceptable in a pope.
The Pope just has to be male and Catholic, but since 1389, the cardinals have always elected one of their own. After every inconclusive round of votes, the smoke from the chapel chimney is black,
Pope and fresh,
burned with some chemicals thrown
anonymously.
in. When a new pope is chosen, the smoke is white. At the last conclave, there was a problem.
The Monsignor in charge of the stove didn't follow the directions, and the smoke came out gray, and everybody in St. Peter's Square was scratching their heads.
They rang the biggest bell in the square as well.
And as soon as you see it swinging, you know it's over.
Well, maybe we should do like pink and blue, like a goddamn gender reveal.
They will have 3 sets of papal garments, the white cassock that the Pope wears. One small, one medium.
It's pink smoke until they elect a Pope, and then it's blue.
For the new Pope to wear when he walks out onto that famous balcony in St. Peter's Square.
I hate it.
Now, the conclave, Jake, will convene in just a little over 2 weeks from now. How long they'll take? Well,
Conclave this ass.
You know, back in the 1200s, they once took nearly...
That doesn't make any sense because I grabbed my crotch.
Gregory X. In the past few years, it's really been 2 or 3 days has become the norm. Now, the fact that there is no clear front runner, that might add a little time. Something that might take away a little time. 80% of these electors were appointed as cardinals by Pope Francis. So there's a good chance they're on a similar page, which might make reaching a consensus a little quicker. And it's important to note here, they are not just picking a person.
We've got a whole, week of funeral shit.
Direction the church
is going to be all over our TVs.
Years. Jake?
All right, Nick Watt, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Our algorithm recommendations. Oh, let's hear Tapper talk about this. I do want to stay tuned for this.
Appreciate it. Vice President J.D. Vance met with Pope Francis just yesterday. The Pope also met with the 3 U.S. presidents who were in the Oval Office during his papacy. With us now is historian John McGreevy. He is the provost at the University of Notre Dame, its second-ranking official. Thanks for joining us. So after his election in 2013, Francis's pontificate spanned the terms of Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and then a little bit of Trump again. Joe Biden, the only Catholic of them all. Talk to us a little bit about his relationship with all 3. Let's start with Trump, who met him in 2017.
Well, first of all, it's great to be here. The relationship with President Trump was somewhat antagonistic. Francis was the first pope from the global south. And
I think they go back to the old ways of the church.
Issues that
Lenny, good evening.
Are focused on, including migration and environmental issues, among other things.
Lenny, you're in a much more heavily Catholic area.
Basic human dignity that they need.
What is the world like?
Was challenged in some ways, especially not so much even by the actions.
Thoughts on the Pope
of President Trump. So there was some tension there, even if there were sympathy on other issues, but there was real tension on some of the issues that were core for Pope Francis.
How about his relationship with President Obama? Obama was president when Francis was first elected in 2013.
Yeah, thanks, Obama.
And when he visited the United States back in 2015.
You know, even judging by the statement that President Obama released this morning, it was a very warm, as far as we can tell, relationship. Now, on the one hand, President Obama was very...
Look a little chilly there. They're in the wind.
Of course, is very pro-life on the abortion issue. On the other hand, on issues like climate change, which was crucial for Pope Francis, on issues like, as I said before...
They were both mean-mugging for an album cover there, weren't they?
See eye to eye.
This is about the time of Kanye and Jay-Z when they dropped their collaboration album. The Pope and Obama taking pictures for their collaboration album. Looking pretty good, actually.
Very pro-choice, pro-France. Pope Francis, of course, is very pro-life.
She lit so many candles for you. She was responsible for global warming.
Issues like climate change.
Oh,
crucial for Pope Francis. On issues like, as I said before, migration, Pope Francis and Obama seem to see eye to eye, and that the relationship, by all the accounts we have, actually was quite warm, and that was reflected in President Obama's statement this morning.
And then, of course, there's Joe Biden, who, after John F. Kennedy, has been only the second Catholic president this country's ever had.
You know, one of the ironies of the recent past in the relationship between the Vatican and the U.S. is that President Biden was the most Catholic president we've ever had, a very faithful, practicing Catholic.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. That checks out.
Abortion, there was a lot of antagonism to President Biden from within the Catholic Church in the United States, but not so much from Pope Francis.
Jill could be my GOP mommy.
Pro-life, but he and Biden clearly saw
after Joe croaks
a number of other issues, and they were able to develop a quite strong working relationship.
Boy, he wouldn't listen to the Pope on Palestine.
With President Biden's very warm.
I don't have any love for the Pope, but I'll give it to him. He was very vocal about what was going on in Gaza, so excellent. And the West Bank.
Enthusiastic statement. You know, those of us who watched the State of the Union addresses, we could always see in the background there when President Biden was giving his State of the Union, a big photo of President Biden and Pope Francis, which at least I think symbolically suggested the importance that President Biden placed on that relationship.
Yeah, the Oval Office addresses with that photo.
Julie!
Of Catholicism and politics, you've
all the way until yesterday. Yeah, he said it in like his Easter. Like he didn't give a sermon, right, DJ Dub, as I understand it, but he had like an Easter statement. And he mentioned Palestine in his Easter statement. I love that Brad emote.
Between popes and Democrats and Republicans in some ways for decades. Do you think that abortion will remain the top issue when it comes to relationships that the United States president has with the Pope? Drowning out economics, treatment of the poor, migration, or the environment? Or do you think it's just, it depends on the Pope and it depends on the day?
A little bit depends on the Pope, depends on the day. And of course, we have to see who's elected as the next Pope.
But I comment.
I actually would add that American politics has changed too. In the post-Dobbs environment, you know, the issue of abortion has been more firmly placed in the states. It's less of a national political issue, although it is still somewhat national. And in that context too, I think other issues are going to come to the fore, and they include migration, they include climate change, they include the kind of economy we have and how that protects the dignity of the poor, which was such a big issue for Pope Francis. So I do think the constellation of issues is going to shift a bit.
John McGreevy, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
That was your meme of the day, brought to you by Warlord. He requested that. I, on the other hand, went with Kanye cousin fucking. I love that Holiday messaged me a little bit ago. It was like, are you seeing this shit? I'm like, you're gonna have to be more specific. Like the Pope dying and Kanye fucking his cousin. I'm like, oh yeah, totally. I'm in on that. I will totally put it in the Discord where he's got a comment. Yesterday was Easter. How dare the Christians have Easter? How dare WWE have WrestleMania on the 5th anniversary of the Troll Patrol? I've been doing this show for 5 years and 1 day. Is Kanye a white redneck now? Yes, that's his new thing. He's been wearing a lot of overalls and shit. Yesterday was Easter. We didn't get to really focus a lot on Easter. We looked over at the mass that was going on a couple of different times. But this is my favorite Easter story I've ever covered. I'm not even going to set it up for you. Just listen.
Story tonight, a good deed turned into a terrifying accident after sources tell us an elderly man fell at least 10 feet from a cross during a crucifixion reenactment in Weston. 5's Wesley Benson has been digging into the story all day and has the latest on the man's condition. Wesley.
According to 911 officials, medical services responded here to the Masonic Cemetery in West.
It was 69 degrees during this. It's wrong to laugh, but I'm fucking laughing. Why'd you get down off your stupid cross? He'll be fine in 3 days. Boom, question marks. Holy shit.
According to 911 officials, medical services responded here to the Masonic Cemetery in Weston at approximately 12:30 in the afternoon on Friday. They tell us that a man fell from one of these crosses behind me, falling approximately...
Oh, come on! You actually put yourself up on one of those? Those don't look sturdy at all.
10 feet to the ground. He was transported to a nearby emergency center via helicopter. The fall left the man in the ICU over Easter weekend. I spoke to a family member of the victim this afternoon who told me that he is doing much better. And doctors.
That's a type of Darwin Award, isn't it? Didoom.
We know the 84-year-old was helping put on the Good Friday reenactment with the Vandelli Community Christian Church. We do know that the man was not.
Carpenters just are what they once were.
They're assisting. At this time, we are unsure what caused the man to fall from the cross.
Oh, I was hoping we had fucking... Oh my god, I was hoping we had video. Come on, you're telling me they had a whole thing at a church and it had to be all old people, right? If somebody didn't have a fucking phone out filming this shit. Gravity did it. Gravity.
We know the 84-year-old was helping put on the Good Friday reenactment with the Vandelli Community Christian Church.
Media winch.
Was not a member of the church, but was simply there assisting. At this time, we are unsure what caused the man to fall from the cross, but we are happy to hear that he is doing okay. Keeping you connected in Lewis County, Wesley Benson, 5 News.
I hope if somebody stumbles across that footage, you know where to send it, right? Hit me up. Shelly, good evening. Welcome in. Libertad. No Stigmata. Ponder Monkey. Which dude's hair? This dude's hair? Yeah, I'm not high enough for this shit. Or are you talking about the other reporter?
Okay.
Oh. He's got wind to deal with, though. It's a windy day. Oh, these guys are totally right out of college. That's a thing. And that is a thing that should concern you. That's one of the reasons why our media is so helpless. Because of downsizing all your reporters and anchors and shit. They're basically right out of college. This guy is probably 23, 24. This is his first job. If he does well, he's going to go up in the, what news station is this? Let's find out what market it is. WDTV in Bridgeport, West Virginia. Bridgeport, West Virginia. This is probably like 100 in the country market. So if he does good in this market, he'll get to go up to like a number 70 market. If he does good in that market, he'll get to go up to a 50 market. So I worked at like the station I worked at was like 70, 72, 73 or something like that market. And somebody told me, like, it's basically the station you work at when you're on your way up or you're on your way down. What? Whoop. And yep, boy was it. My like year and a half there, that's totally what happened. People on their way up, on their way down. Bridgeport, West Virginia, where you get stories about a 4-month-old baby dying because the parents rubbed alcohol on her gums. I feel like there's more to the story than that. The baby died with alcohol in her system. They look like the kind of people. This is what you get in West Virginia, my friend.
News for you now as two.
No, I'm sorry, Flash. Dad's from West Virginia. Please keep that in mind. That's the reason why I get to rag on it.
After police say they caused the death of a 4-month-old baby in Braxton
Not
County.
fair.
Police say they responded to the Braxton County Memorial Hospital in November.
That's exactly what West Virginia looks like.
23-year-old Angel Talbert and 34-year-old James Smith. Smith,
I feel like I know both of them.
Tried to save their baby that morning after she was found not breathing. While no charges were initially filed, police noted the couple's living conditions were poor, with their house having no running water and being infested with cockroaches. The case stood still for months.
Dude, looks like he'd be my cousin.
Weeks ago when police received the results of the infant's post-mortem
exam.
C-. That report said the girl tested positive for fatal amounts of ethanol, an active ingredient in alcohol. Talbert and Smith told officers they would rub alcohol on the baby's gums whenever she was irritable or fussy. According to police, the parents admitted they did this every day for a month prior to the baby's death.
Yeah, they'll do it.
Smith are both charged with first-degree murder, child neglect resulting in death, and conspiracy. Both are being held in the Central Regional Jail without bond.
It's not funny though, because it's not people in West Virginia's fault. That state has been robbed of its natural resources, just like Kentucky. Completely exploited the workforce and the population, stole their land, stole all the resources and opportunity. I rag on Appalachia, but I'm also an advocate for Appalachia because the area would be beautiful. And when I was there 20 years ago, when I was doing news, I was like, we should focus on tourism, getting away from fossil fuels. Instead, they did all-out fucking propaganda in service of coal companies because that's where the money was. Yeah, T-minus, yeah, they killed a baby. They probably wanted the baby to leave them alone, so they kept trying to get it drunk. And you can't do that to a baby. They got all kinds of trails, Minty. Plenty of trails. I totally believe that they should have focused on tourism. They should have built some sort of theme park. There's the Breaks Interstate Park, and they have whitewater rafting. Like it's some of the best whitewater rafting in the world. People come from all over the world to, like, it's the really niche people, right? That's got the money to fucking travel to the mountains of eastern Kentucky. But if you like open it up, because it's a bitch to get to the Breaks Interstate Park, but it's an amazing area. It's beautiful. Did they get charged with murder? Or was it like negligent homicide and shit like that? I missed it, Libertad. All out fucking. I'm all about some all out fucking.
You live in sexual
I don't
anarchy.
remember what it was in regards to. They had an all out fucking shootout in Houston earlier today, and that's what we're getting ready to talk about.
We have breaking news. A deputy constable survives after being hit in a shootout near the courthouse complex in downtown Houston. Good evening. I'm Len Cannon.
And good early evening to you. I'm Mia Gradney. Just within the last hour, Harris County Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen confirmed Deputy Sheila Jones is expected to be okay.
It began around noon near Congress and San Jacinto, right outside the Harris County Family Law Center. Investigators telling us Deputy Jones spotted a man with a gun walking toward the courthouse, and she started following him.
And we have live team coverage. Sherman Chow.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Dude just had a gun? Yeah, open carry state. Let's get more of the facts here.
Going are live at the scene. Amanda Henderson has more on Deputy Jones, but let's get to Sherman first. You were already in downtown Houston when this story broke.
Yeah, Mia, we do our new newscast every day just a few blocks away. It's from our downtown Houston studio. So it's about 12:30 when I got the text that the shooting had happened just moments ago. We raced down here to San Jacinto and Congress, and you can see the crime scene tape is still up. Crime scene units and investigators still on the scene looking for shell casings, evidence, potential witnesses. Take a look at the video that we shot earlier today. This is all happening in the heart of Harris County's judicial system. The courthouses are here on a routine day. There is heavy police presence, bailiffs, deputies, police officers giving testimony. All that turned out to be a good thing. A deputy spotted the suspect, a heavily armed suspect, and gave chase. Take a listen.
He chased that man across these streets here.
Well, it's Texas, so if you're saying they're heavily armed, I'm expecting them to be in body armor with like multiple rifles or something. Okay, it's Texas, right? So what does heavily armed entail exactly?
Across San Jacinto, down Congress, and at that time, a series of deputies encountered the man in a shootout.
Is this a John Waters character?
It was brutal. I'm talking, it was just an intense, like a movie almost, and I didn't have sense enough. I wanted to start videoing.
We do have some sort of video.
Yelled at Francisco to get out of the way of the gunfire. Stray bullets shot out a window at the jury assembly room. Reportedly, another window was shot out. This by the tax assessor's office. So that is part of what the detectives are doing.
Austin is a really cool city.
And any other.
I've never been myself.
The good news is
I've driven through
no
Houston.
one else was injured aside from that deputy and the suspect. So as far as we know, 2 people hurt in all of this, and that investigation still very active. Guys?
Very wild scene, Sherman. Thank you. Now let's go to Stephen Goen, who's been talking with witnesses who saw everything unfold.
Okay, yeah. What exactly happened? Because they're dancing around. This suspect didn't seem to open fire. Are you guys picking up anything I'm not picking up? It just seemed like they were acting suspicious, and I think the cops were the first ones to shoot. But the news isn't coming right out and saying that.
And heard the gunfire. What are they telling you, Stephen?
Well, Len, we know there were some frightening, chaotic moments out here earlier, so people tell me they were just scared. And we know this is a very busy area. There could have been hundreds of people inside these court buildings today when this shootout happened between the suspect and law enforcement. Now, authorities have said the suspect was first spotted here at the Harris County Civil Court. Then he walked down the street, down Congress, to that building with all the windows. That is the jury assembly room that Sherman mentioned before. When the gunshots rang out just a block away from that building, here's what was going on inside.
Lay on the ground, now. Lay on the ground.
Take a look. This is video shared with us by radio host KG Smooth. You can see that he and dozens of other people who were inside that building, summoned for jury duty, they were forced to hunker down when they heard the bullets. Now, today we also spoke to an attorney who works nearby. Here's what he saw. Take a listen.
Walked out here to see what's going on. Pretty chaotic scene, officers everywhere, officers with rifles, and there was an individual.
But who shot?
Shot about in that area right there, and you could hear EMS coming. And it also appeared they were still trying to secure the scene, and it was pretty chaotic.
And now that attorney also shared this video with us of someone being taken away from the scene on a gurney. We do believe that is the suspect. And now back out here live, I have reached out to the Harris County District Attorney's Office to check on the status of everyone who was in that jury assembly building, trying to figure out if they got to where they needed to go today. I was told that everyone in that building was safe and that nobody had to be.
Just the wording that the news is using.
Some good news on this. We'll send it back to you.
Such an ordeal for everyone.
Is telling me that the cops aren't being definitive.
Precinct 1 Constable Alan Rosen was in Austin when the shooting happened.
Yeah, but he rushed back to Houston and went directly to Memorial Hermann to check on Deputy Jones. Constable Rosen's office sharing this powerful
fucking shit.
You see deputies and family members of Deputy Jones gathering in a prayer circle at the hospital. Rosen says those prayers worked.
Globus!
Deputy Sheila,
welcome in, my friend.
Who's a 30-plus year law enforcement veteran, was shot, and thankfully she had a bulletproof vest on, which saved her from any internal injuries. She's in good spirits.
That's what I'm wondering clinically.
Doctors in the country, and we're thankful for them.
I have known her for most of my career. She did what she always does. She runs toward the danger.
I don't know that the suspect fired.
The consummate hero.
Samson, welcome in.
A situation that could have been catastrophic. He was armed with multiple firearms, displaying them, and obviously willing to shoot.
This was a shootout in Houston.
We don't have a mass casualty event.
But everybody is dancing around what actually happened. It doesn't seem like the suspect was the first to open fire. But I'm not sure. I might be missing something.
I have known her for most of my...
They're really focusing on this cop getting shot.
She always does. She runs toward the danger when others run away. She is the consummate...
But the story as we have it was this dude was just walking around with a gun in an open carry state, and that she started following him. And then we don't really know exactly what happened from there. That's the details as we have them. There was a shootout that took place. It was a chaotic scene. So that's what we know.
Hero. She saw a situation that could have been catastrophic.
The picture was blurred, but it did look to be a person of color.
With multiple firearms, displaying...
Multiple firearms.
Willing to shoot. And because of her, we don't have a mass casualty.
See? Had multiple firearms and was willing to shoot. It doesn't seem like the suspect had opened fire. Were they even pointing a gun at anybody?
She did what she always does. She runs toward the danger when others run away. She is the consummate hero. She saw a situation that could have been catastrophic. He was armed with multiple firearms, displaying them, and obviously willing to shoot.
See? Displaying them and obviously willing to shoot. This person did not shoot at anybody. Texas is an open carry state. I don't know that any crime was committed other than the cops murdering somebody, and it really feels like they're trying to paint this narrative. He's out here, oh, hero, hero, hero.
Because of her, we don't have a mass casualty event. Because of her.
And Amanda Henderson joins us now. She's in the...
You don't know that there was going to be a mass casualty event.
Long career in law enforcement. Amanda.
Yes, decades.
Well, now I'm appalled.
Exactly right. Now, Jones is a decorated Army veteran, and she's also well known throughout the ranks of local law enforcement, starting with the Harris County Sheriff's
Lady B.
In 1989, working for the department for 31 years, being promoted several times up to the...
Yeah, we're going to talk about how wonderful she was.
According to an HCSO social media post, she was actually part of a historic trio, 3 women on their command staff for the first time. Jones now works as a deputy constable for Harris County Precinct 1, being assigned to the downtown court complex.
That's what it sounds like so far.
Got the report of a man with a gun. Jones is one of several law enforcement officials who went to confront him, and at that point officials say a shootout, that's when it took place, and Jones was hit but thankfully had on that bulletproof vest. Everyone who knows her speaking highly about her.
And if she was hit and the suspect didn't fire the gun, that means she was shot by another cop. Holy shit.
Her actions today, including her former boss and former Harris County Sheriff Adrian Garcia.
She was an incredible go-getter at the sheriff's office. That's why she achieved the rank of major. And so she is someone who I would always expect her to be at the point of any situation, taking care of people, protecting people, putting herself in harm's way so she could protect others.
We've also learned that Jones comes from a law enforcement family. Her son is with HCSO as well. People who were able to visit with her this afternoon at the hospital say she was...
Yeah, she's alive.
Which is always the best news we can hear, guys.
Yeah, given all...
You're talking about her like she's dead.
It's really good news. Amanda, thank you. We'll stay on top of this story. We'll get back to you for the latest on air and on KHU 11.
I have another one that has more video. I don't know if it's the same video that we watched in that clip I just showed you, but it's much shorter than the clip that I just played. Tier 2, welcome in. Let's see what they say. If this is a different news agency, let's see how they frame the story.
Just learned here in the last couple of minutes that the person that was the suspect in this case was not only carrying 1 gun but 2 guns, but he should have never carried any gun because he has prior felony charges here in the state of Texas. If you are a convicted,
yeah, but they don't know that.
Not able to carry a gun, as Andy said, still very active, seeing helicopters flying above. But I want to show you some video from earlier today as all of this was unfolding. Officers donning long guns as this place was absolutely enthralled with police officers. What we know right now, this was right in front of the law library. The suspect was shot several times. Now, he was displaying a firearm, and the difference here that we just heard in that press conference is you are allowed to carry, if you're not a convicted felon, you're allowed to carry that gun in a constitutional carry. It's like on the hip like a cowboy. Think of it like that. But the moment you pull that gun out, well, that's the problem. He was displaying that firearm. He was given commands to drop the gun. He then opened fire, hitting Constable Precinct 1 deputy Sheila Jones. She was hit 1 time. Her vest likely...
So they are saying he opened fire.
Did hit her vest, but it did not penetrate her vest. She was shot on the side, and then the suspect was shot multiple times. I want to show you a video, but I have to warn you, it is very graphic in nature, and it may be upsetting to some. This video shows...
Content warning, fuckers.
What witnesses are telling us is the moments that Deputy Jones went after the suspect. You'll see her running here.
Okay, good. Let's see this.
Running away wearing a white T-shirt. I want to show you this now.
This up on the police, bro.
When I hear them scream, get down, come here, get down. And you see the guy, he just comes out of his jacket with this big old gun. You know, then he starts turning and pointing. So by the time he's turning and pointing, I'm like, oh crap. And I just hear, cow, and then doom, 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 doom. After those first couple of shots, he takes off running and he's shooting backwards, not even looking. He's, you know.
Okay, well, if he's shooting, if he's menacing with a gun like that,
All right, some updated information that we just got from this press conference. Previously, we were told that there were 4 deputies involved in the shooting. We now know that number is 5. There were 4
The video does seem to confirm that. I will retract my previous statement.
We know that 2 separate government buildings here were struck by that gunfire. At this point, the district attorney has accepted aggravated assault on a peace officer charge, but he does say that they are in.
I don't think it qualifies as a mass shooting, but yeah, just another day.
Shooting as well as felony possession of firearm charges. Those will come as soon as they are able to verify the identity of this suspect, which they are holding right now. He is.
Justin, you missed the Pope segment.
Until they're a little bit further on in this process. We're reporting live in downtown. Gage Golding, KPRC2 News.
We're on to mass shootings now, though I do have Pope-inspired graphics. We're doing the you got the Pope troll head down there. Though it's not actually the Pope. That's a Papa from Ghost. Rip-off Pope hat, I guess you could say. Let's go from Houston to Dallas. Sorry, Lenny, I'm giving you all these Texas stories. The parents are thankful for the teachers who protected their students during the Dallas school shooting that happened, last week?
And tonight we are learning how a 17-year-old student with a gun gained access to Wilmer Hutchins High School, where police say he started firing in a crowded hallway.
It sent kids running for cover, parents rushing to the school, but...
What color you want, Lady B? It's your choice. You get to pick the bandana color. What color are you going with? Blue. You want dark blue or light blue? Dark blue. All right. You watch this story, I'll change bandana.
We just got an update. 2 of the wounded students have been released from the hospital, while 2 others are recovering from surgery right now.
Court documents show this young man, 17-year-old Tracy Haynes Jr., was led into the high school around 1 p.m. yesterday by another unidentified student. The affidavit states Haynes walked the halls until he saw multiple male students, and that's when he started firing indiscriminately. The documents state that one of those students was not able to run, and that's when Haynes appears to shoot him at point blank.
Haynes turned himself in just after 9 o'clock last night, and WFAA has obtained video of him being booked into the Dallas County Jail. He's charged with aggravated assault mass shooting, the first time that charge is being used in Dallas County. Authorities were able to secure the campus after a little more than an hour, and paramedics rushed 5 students to a hospital.
And we've learned one of those students was not shot, but did suffer anxiety-related symptoms. Brittany Moncrief shows us the moments chaos broke out on campus.
We may not know their names.
The teacher stayed by the door just in case someone came in.
But they are certainly appreciated.
I want to tell that teacher thank you for protecting those kids.
This grandmother, who wants to remain anonymous, says she's grateful for the Wilmer Hutchins High School teacher who protected her grandson during Tuesday's shooting.
To put his life on the line for your child, that's something special.
This chilling surveillance video circulating on social media may be difficult to watch as it shows a gunman
Content warning, fuckers.
firing shots into the school hallway, injuring 5 people. Police identified him as 17-year-old Tracy Haynes Jr. WFAA sources also confirming the authenticity of this video, showing school staff making what looks like a tourniquet to stop an injured student from bleeding.
How did this happen? Why did this happen again?
School board
is the guns.
Johnson says the school has made improvements to safety following a shooting on campus last year.
They're following the protocol that Dallas.
Oh my God! Oh my God! It's not even the first shooting in the last year. One of the things I was reading this morning was that the FSU shooting, was it last week? There were students from Parkland that were there during the Parkland shooting. So they experienced 2 mass shootings. There are kids that have experienced 2 mass shootings in their lives because it's so common. Yeah, that's not even the first time students have been involved in 2 mass shootings.
ISD has set in place with the clear bag policy. They're making sure that during intake that the proper protocols are followed.
But police say Haynes was led in by an unidentified person, which Johnson says shows more work needs to be done to address safety.
Do what?
On safety. So I'm going to be advocating for more resources.
And of those 5 victims, Dallas Fire Rescue says 1 was treated for anxiety-related symptoms and 2 have been released from the hospital. All 5 are expected to be okay. And while the school...
They keep saying anxiety, and I keep hearing that Doechii song in my head.
...is closed and the fear still lingering. This grandmother...
My grandson told me, he said...
Thanks the teacher.
He wants them to be safe. They got their whole life in front of them.
For keeping her grandson safe.
That was something wonderful to say to the kids.
In Dallas, I'm Brittany Moncrief.
What a brave teacher, reminding the students that they were his priority. The aggravated assault mass shooting charge Haynes faces did not exist 2 years ago. The changes were a result of a bill passed through the Texas legislature in 2023. The mass shooting charge makes this case a first-degree felony, which is punishable by 5 to 99 years in prison or life.
Wait a minute. In Florida, could you go and shoot 5 people and it not be a felony? Only in Florida, right?
Especially important when the case heads to trial. It can prevent the multiple aggravated assault offenses from being tried separately. You can read up on the entire history of this law and how it can be used by the district attorney's office. The full explanation is available right now.
Anxiety. The bond for the suspect in the shooting remains in place at $3.1 million.
Tomorrow marks 1 week since 4 people were shot and wounded at Wilmer Hutchins High School, and we have several big updates to share. Prosecutors now tell us that a teacher was also wounded, grazed by a bullet. That's in addition to the 3 students who suffered gunshot wounds. But investigators now say the suspect's gun jammed, so it could have been even worse. And a judge has just decided not to reduce the bond for that teenage suspect. Let's get to Cole Sullivan for an update on that hearing in Dallas County.
The suspected Wilmer Hutchins High School shooter is back in jail after a Dallas County judge didn't buy the defense argument Tracy Haynes Jr. should have a reduced bond.
Why?
My client wanted to kill someone. It would have happened. He let this young man go.
News surveillance angles show Haynes' .40 caliber handgun jamming mid-shooting, saving the life of one of the wounded students, prosecutors say.
But for the grace of God that gun jammed, that he is still alive and recovering in the hospital.
Prosecutors say Haynes previously served 6 months juvenile probation for assaulting a fellow student.
Repeatedly punched the person in the face just because they were mean mugging him.
His defense attorney says,
they were mean mugging him.
Haynes,
I get it.
He acted out of fear and to protect his family.
Mr. Haynes does not pose a threat to the community. Mr. Haynes only posed a threat to the young men, the gang members that threatened him.
That's who he targeted, his lawyer says. Haynes' family say they would have made sure he followed conditions of a reduced
I ain't buying it.
Still an ongoing investigation, and we're standing in solidarity with Tracy for him. And some of these schools have to do something about these bullying and all of these threats.
As Haynes Jr. remains in jail, staff are preparing to come back to campus here at Wilmer Hutchins High School tomorrow. Students will be back on Wednesday, asked to learn in the same building where 4 classmates were shot. In southern Dallas, I'm Cole Sullivan.
Those poor kids, the world they're growing up in. From Texas to Florida, where we apparently have information on the FSU student Might have been a Nazi.
Now, Reed Seabold, an FSU senior who was there when this shooting happened. Reed, thank you very much for joining us at the end of what I'm sure has been a nightmare of a day for you, of course. Glad you're okay, at least physically. Can you tell us where you were when this shooting began?
For sure. So I was in the Bellamy building, which is catty-cornered to the Student Union.
He was in the Bill Bellamy building.
All of 90 seconds away.
And what happened?
So two people came in talking about a shooter on campus, and so we immediately locked down. We weren't even supposed to be there for class that day, but we had all come in to work on a group project. And so when they came in, we locked down immediately, locked both doors, turned off the lights, got under our desks. And, we had heard some gunshots. We had also heard our door attempted to be opened. A number of times. The first one we had initially thought was the shooter when we were in there, but now seeing that he was taken down at the Student Union, we don't believe it was him.
Do you think it was maybe law enforcement jiggling the handle, perhaps?
Well, the law enforcement, we know that was the second two times, but it could have been law enforcement. It could have also been someone trying to flee for safety. We really don't know.
Been getting a lot of Blues Brothers content thrown at me here lately.
Your mind at that point, Reed.
Yes, ma'am. So, I really just didn't know what was happening initially. Originally, I thought it could have been a prank, and then that was quickly espoused. And so I was texting everybody I loved, letting know that I loved them. I was getting ready to die, which was harrowing.
And still emotional for you now, I can tell.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Talk me through some of that, Reed, because I have to imagine that you grew up in a generation that you practice active shooter drills. You prepared mentally. You've seen, I'm sure, endless coverage, as we have done here on the news.
It's a fucking shame.
Here. And then you find yourself in that locked room, the door handle jiggling, and the worst going through your mind.
Yeah, so like you said, we had practiced active shooter drills in high school. It didn't really happen in college, but we did what we were taught to do. Like I said, we locked down the room, lights off, and doors closed, and we were just doing what we had become normal to do. It became normal to practice having a shooter on campus shooting my peers.
The shooter is suspected
dystopian
by police as an FSU student by the name of Phoenix Eichner. I know it's a big school. Did you happen to know him?
So I spent my first 2 years at Tallahassee, now called Tallahassee State College, but we called it TCC. And I was the president of a political talk group we called the Political Roundtable, and he joined the club when I was at TCC. Basically, our only rule was no Nazis, colloquially speaking. And he espoused so much white supremacist rhetoric and far right rhetoric as well, to the point where we had to exercise that rule. I also know he was a member of the TCC Turning Point chapter. And since TCC, I have seen him in passing a couple times. Today, I was talking to a friend who had talked to him yesterday, or 2 days ago, pardon me. And he was talking about how he wasn't ready for exams.
To be clear, Reed, I just want to make sure that folks understand this.
He really wasn't ready, was he?
Student essentially into FSU, right? So you started the first 2 years in Tallahassee.
And he's still alive, isn't he?
Eichner, this suspected shooter here, and you say that he was essentially, it sounded like, kicked out of a political club that you were in because of his as you described them, views on white supremacy?
Yes, ma'am. So it wasn't necessarily a formal kicking out, but he was asked not to come back, and was really what had happened was we had, it was a debate back and forth. And after enough times, I mean, he did not feel welcome because he was not welcome with his.
Because he was not welcome.
We allow people of all, beliefs, creeds, whatever. And he somehow found a way to not fit the bill on everyone else.
So what went through your mind, Reed, when you heard that police had identified the suspected shooter in this instance as this individual who you had known for a couple of years?
Initially, pure, unadulterated anger. To think that someone I knew had essentially made me a statistic. To think that, you know, I had conversations with him at a normal level and, you know, person to person. And for it to turn into this, I don't know why he would have done something like this. I don't know where it would have come from, but I'd sure like to find out.
Reed, what's next for you? Are you planning to stay close to campus, go back when it finally does reopen? Are you ready for that?
So all of my stuff is still in the classroom, my iPad, my backpack, all of that.
Okay.
But I evacuated with some friends and, you know, we got them home all safe, all fed. And I'm just back at home right now with my boyfriend trying to come down from all this adrenaline.
Reed Siebold, I'm grateful to you for sharing some of your experiences here on what is, I know, been a very horrific and difficult day. Thank you very much for your time tonight and for being with us here on NBC News. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Hallie.
Thanks for watching.
Shut up, Lester.
Breaking news and top stories on the NBC News.
I knew it was coming.
Follow us on social media.
So with this next story, apparently it was kind of scary, but I'm not sure that the man wasn't trying to be helpful. Chainsaw wielding suspect. Chainsaw wielding suspect cuts down several trees.
Some piece of you-know-what decided that they're going to go around last night chopping down trees all over downtown LA.
Expressing frustration and anger after someone cut down several trees along.
I think he's just trying to prune them a little bit.
This weekend, Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Flay is live in downtown with the latest. Sophie?
That's more than just a clipping.
In the area say they have surveillance video of one person riding around on a bike, wielding a chainsaw and chopping down trees. Downtown LA residents are calling this act malicious.
How do you get away with it in LA?
Around last night, chopping down trees all over downtown LA.
At least 5 trees in downtown LA were butchered over the weekend, leaving residents confused.
What are you doing to your city? I mean, anybody that does this is an act of destruction.
Media Musave has lived downtown since 2017. He's also behind the popular Instagram account DTLA Insider. At first, he thought these chopped trees were part of a city cleanup.
Started getting pictures from many different people in the influencer space, downtown space, saying, did you see what they did last night? And I realized this was a little more malicious than, you know, just a tree.
Unbelievable.
They were spotted at Grand Avenue and Wells Fargo Center, Olympic and Figueroa, Broadway and Cesar Chavez, and right here at Grand Avenue and 5th Street. According to City Council member Isabel Jorano, this was
Yeah, that's horrible because LA needs more trees.
Says this tree massacre started at around 1:30 Saturday morning. Detectives are looking for camera footage.
The scope and scale that they did this to.
Okay, so like I'm in awe of the fact that like nobody like called the police on him or anything. But then again, people are probably like, oh, it's the middle of the night and somebody's got a chainsaw. That has to be somebody from the city doing some pruning.
A little bit.
Unless he looked like a meth head, he's like wielding up above his. Maybe he was wearing somebody's face as a mask or something like that.
Shocking. I mean, we're in a high density urban area. Some cameras, somebody had to see something had to catch something, but we've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, again, if you live in the area or you have anything that you captured on camera of this act, LAPD is looking for and still collecting that video. Live in downtown LA, Sophie Flay, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, with summer.
I assume somebody was drunk or something. Somebody that owns a tree shop is the main suspect. Are there any Haley Joel Osment fans in the chat? The child actor apparently got in a little trouble over the weekend. Or at the end of last week, Haley Joel Osment breaks the silence after hurling anti-Semitic slurs at the cops during drug arrest. Former child star Haley Joel Osment is apologizing for using anti-Semitic. I see irrelevant people. No, he's been in a lot of shit here lately, hasn't he? I don't think he's irrelevant at all. He's apologized for using anti-Semitic slurs when cops arrested him for public intoxication. Osment, 37, exclusively told the Post on Thursday, "I'm absolutely horrified by my behavior. Had I known I used this disgraceful language in the throes of a blackout, I would have spoken up sooner." The Sixth Sense star continued, "The past few months of loss and displacement have broken me down to a very low emotional place." The actor recently lost his home in the Altadena wildfire in January. Sources told TMZ that the secondhand Lions actor had been going through it recently as he lost everything in the Altadena wildfire and has since had difficulty with his insurance. After recently finding a replacement home, Osment learned his insurer denied his claim. Osment continued in his statement to the Post, "But that's no excuse for using this disgusting word. From the bottom of my heart, I apologize to absolutely everyone this hurts. What came out of my mouth was nonsensical garbage. I've let the Jewish community down and it devastates me. I don't ask for anyone's forgiveness, but I promise to atone for my terrible mistake." This is the body cam footage of his arrest. This is the video. Might have to go to a different browser. But we're going to watch it. Content warning for whatever anti-Semitic slur he throws out there. What in the fuck? New York Post is pissing me off. Everybody pissing me off. New York Post. Your site is becoming bullshit. I won't use you as a source anymore.
What's going on? I'm being detained by these guys.
Okay.
I'm trying to walk back.
Beyond intoxication, you lunged at the bartender. Okay. We were very nice and calm, and then you started.
Department, you're being detained.
I'm being attacked.
What's your name, brother?
What's
your name?
Possession of cocaine.
Being detained. Okay.
Being attacked.
My suggestion would be to stop resisting because it's an additional charge. Yeah, I got that.
Being attacked.
What's your name?
I'm being attacked.
Your name is.
What's the problem, man? I'm being attacked.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it.
Relax, police department.
If he's just intoxicated in public, I don't think that's a big deal. His pants are falling down.
Gotta get him.
You have any weapons or anything on your butt?
No.
What's your first name? You're being detained right now. Is there dope in here?
Pull the man's pants up.
Where's your wallet at? No. Where's your wallet at? What's your name? What is your first name?
I've been,
This is a very simple question. What is your name?
yeah, but I'm also...
That's not my question. That's great. I am too. What is your name, though? Who am I talking to? Is it John? Is it Robert? What is your name?
I'm an American, man.
I don't understand what that means.
I'm an American.
Okay. Well, you're under arrest now.
I'm an actor.
My car's right behind.
Well, you're under arrest now.
Can you stand up, please? Stand up. Stand up. Use your legs and stand up.
Well, his pants are around his ankles. Probably makes it difficult to walk.
Yeah.
Just being intoxicated in public should just be the police should help you back to your room or whatever. This dude's staying at some ski lodge or some shit. Help him back to his room.
Yes? All right, we're good. We can sit down.
Right, let's have a seat in the car. Okay? So, left leg up, and let's put your butt up there.
I'm going to have to get around the other side.
1, 2, 3.
I am a firm believer fucking cops should just help you back to your house. You intoxicated out in public. If you're driving and endangering somebody, that's a little different. There's no Lester? There was no Lester. It's only a YouTube thing, I guess. It probably says YouTube channel. All right, we're into the part of the show where the crime stories and the politics stories start blending together. I didn't hear a slur either. Now that you mention it, DJ Dub, I did not hear a slur. Maybe they edited it out. I don't. Look it up. Find out what slur he dropped. Well, I mean, don't tell us. Don't get like Twitch banned. But like, let me know somehow. Like, you know, say it's the K word. Oh, it's the K one. Okay. How do you call a cop both that and a Nazi? Seems counterintuitive to me, but what do I know? I'm not drunk and a Hollywood star. Nadine Menendez, the wife of former Senator from New Jersey, Bob Menendez, has been found guilty in her bribery case.
Guilty on all counts. That verdict from a jury in Manhattan court today in the federal bribery and
I'll smoke to that.
Of Nadine Menendez, wife of convicted former U.S. Senator Bob Menendez. The charges stemming from her role as a partner in...
Sir, I have called a cop a Nazi. With a bag of weed in my pocket, too. It's probably not a smart move. And my girlfriend told me it was probably not a smart move. Like, you really shouldn't have done that. I didn't like directly call him, and I asked like, "What is this Nazi Germany?" And it was like gave him a Zig Owl or something. No.
Crime in her and her husband's years-long scheme to sell his political power for gold bars.
Maybe I call him the SS.
Bribes. Senior correspondent Brenda Flanagan is outside the Manhattan Federal Court.
Fair enough, Flash.
Details, Brenda.
Brianna, it took the jury about 7.5 hours before they came back with guilty verdicts, all 15 counts, including bribery, conspiracy, extortion, fraud, and obstruction of justice.
Oregon gal, welcome in.
Menendez's reaction, she stood there very quietly in the court wearing her pink mask as the jury foreman delivered that verdict. Later, outside, her defense attorney didn't let her speak. However, he said, quote, "We are devastated that this has been a very rough day, but that it's not the end. They are going to look into delaying sentencing." He would
Her attorney looks like Ben Stein.
appeal at this point. Now, obviously, this verdict matches her husband's, former and disgraced Senator Bob Menendez, who was also found guilty on all counts. Now, jurors...
By the way, he met her at like a Waffle House. Or, I mean, they don't have Waffle Houses up there. What do you guys have? IHOP? He was in IHOP or something. And she was a waitress. Not to denigrate IHOP waitresses, but he was a senator then. Like, he cheated on his wife with the IHOP waitress or some shit. And then, like, they end up getting together and then trading gold bars.
Obviously believe the prosecutors in this case. They moved with pretty much the same body of evidence in both trials, and they called the couple partners in crime, that they put his power and influence up for sale, that Nadine Menendez was the go-between.
But I'm pretty sure it was a chain, though, Torchy.
Messages and collecting bribes, and that she did the dirty work that the senator didn't want to get caught.
If I remember correctly.
Bren, what does it say about the defense? This was a trial that was expected to go until mid-May. Here we are about 3 weeks after the jury was selected with a bunch of delays, days-long delays. What type of defense did they put up?
Well,
not a very good one, apparently.
When you think about the fact that Bob Menendez's defense argued that Nadine concealed this whole criminal enterprise and essentially kept him in the dark, her defense said, no, this is a prosecution that has failed to make...
If I remember correctly, he bought her new titties.
...prove her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Their key witness had uncorroborated evidence. Obviously, the jury was not convinced. The defense attorney didn't do a lot of cross-examination.
The thruple looking at you across the bar. Anyone taking that orgy couch? The Union City IHOP. I can't believe I got it right. It was an IHOP.
Examination. I think they presented only 3 witnesses, Bree. Now, in terms of sentencing, this is going to be June 12th. Nadine was originally supposed to stand trial with her husband, but treatment for breast cancer delayed that, as we know. She faces possibly a significant sentence. Her husband was sentenced to 11 years, but remember, he was an elected official.
Right, 11 years, which will happen just before she's sentenced. Where was Bob Menendez or the Menendez family? Were they present at all for this trial?
Where's the Menendez brothers?
Well,
ooh, that could be fun. Reality show. We put the Menendez brothers with the Menendez couple over here. Tell them they got some gold bars under their beds.
Sister Caridad Gonzalez was in court. However, where was Bob? He was not in court, which is interesting given the fact that the judge granted him an extension on reporting for prison. He doesn't have to show up until June 6th, but he hasn't been in the courtroom with her, and reporters asked Barry Coburn, where is Bob Menendez? Why wasn't he here supporting his wife?
2.5 Menendez.
Said that he had no comment on that, Brianna.
Brenda, this is remarkable for a number of reasons, but of course because the...
And now we're going sitcom idea.
One side said she was...
I can get with it.
The other said the two were partners. What do you take from this?
All right.
It has been tough to convict federal
Somebody got to do it.
Like a sitting U.S. senator, but they certainly went down hard here.
I think that the judge made it very clear to the jury that you don't have to actually make an official act in order for it to be considered.
Ooh, DJ Dub thinks he's going to go on the run. They probably seized his passport already.
The prosecution here had a very solid case.
917-830-4359. Hop in the Discord. You can just bang Discord in the chat. I've literally got the phone number in the title. You're like, you won't debate me. I'm always begging for breast milk.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Are you full of shit? Are you going to hop in the Discord or not? You made several people in the chat, you made their dicks hard. You dried up all the women in the chat. But you made a couple of bros, you made their dicks hard. Do you want to debate or not? Well, shut the fuck up about it. Get on here and debate then. Nobody wants to hear you talk about how good you are at debate. You will fucking prove it. How am I scared? You're the one in the fucking chat. The Discord, do you see? Link down there. Phone number. How can I possibly be scared? What I am is not high enough for this shit. I did debate in high school all the time as well. Did debate in college. Trust me, I can hold my own. My friend, what you need to be scared of is the fact that you didn't go to my YouTube and watch me debate all these right-wingers and destroy them. Now, are you going to man up? Put your balls on the table or not? Because I don't hear my phone ringing. I don't see you in my Discord. Am I going to defend Trump? Why would I do that? You aren't serious.
Come on, man.
We're going to go to Idaho, where a few weeks ago we watched a town hall. The congressman didn't really like the questions that he was getting from the people in attendance, so they called in a private security force. That private security force has now been arrested.
The city of Coeur d'Alene has filed charges against members of a security firm who were seen dragging a woman out of a Republican town hall in February. Marissa Rio shares why the KCRCC disagrees with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department's findings.
I spoke with KCRCC's chairman today over the phone about these charges, and he said it was sketchy. He also sent out a press release.
The cops didn't even take up for you. Come on.
Fully removed from the town hall, which they held here at Coeur d'Alene High School. This is the guest he's referring to, Teresa Borenpol. In February, a clash between hecklers and security firm Lear Asset Management was caught on camera as Kootenai County Sheriff Robert Norris directed security to remove the protesters. Teresa was one of them.
Cunty County?
Now charging 4 members of Lear with battery, false imprisonment, and city code violations. These charges stem from an investigation by the Coeur d'Alene Police Department. KCRCC is now demanding answers, calling the police reports contradicting. In a press release, they point to this line from the police report that reads, "There was no direct statement by Norris stating that he was asking for their assistance." KCRCC writes in its press release, "The truth is undeniable. Sheriff Norris gave clear orders, and security identified themselves all on video." You do hear the words, "get her out." When it comes to security identifying themselves, Coeur d'Alene City Code requires that security agents wear uniforms clearly marked with the word security on the front and back of the uniforms. Video shows security agents did not comply with that code. Another independent investigation is also being conducted into Sheriff Norris's involvement. When we asked the sheriff's office for an update, we received the following.
He is clearly giving orders.
As of right now, the sheriff's office has no comment regarding your inquiry or any further inquiries surrounding the town hall event.
Kootenai.
In Coeur d'Alene, Marissa Rio, 4 News Now.
Kootenai County. That's the name of it. I'm not the one that makes that decision clinically. I don't know who makes that decision. I'm not in charge of it. However, I do believe it's time for guillotines. It's time to raise the boards. I won't do the whole thing. The arrest, not the only thing to come of the incident from February. A multi-million-dollar lawsuit now underway. Is this a new report?
From the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee in February, filing a notice of tort claim against those involved. Teresa Borenpole is the woman you see right there in this video, which was taken back in February 22nd of this year. Kootenai County Sheriff Bob Norris reportedly ordered members of Lear Asset Management to remove her from the meeting after she disrupted several times. Borenpole accusing Kootenai County Sheriff and the private security firm involved of violating her constitutional rights. In a statement, she said, quote, "Town halls are intended to foster conversation and discourse across the aisle, which is why I am deeply alarmed that private security dragged me out of the public meeting for simply exercising my fundamental right of free speech," end quote. Now, charges have been pressed against some involved in that incident. It's not confirmed what those charges are at the moment, but we do know the Coeur d'Alene Police Department recommended battery and false imprisonment charges to be earlier this month.
I don't think so, clinically. We've seen a lot of that here lately. Remember the Marjorie Taylor Greene, where it's just like taser after taser after taser. Like, what the fuck? They wonder why they're not popular. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, wondering why she's not popular. Somebody apparently stole her fucking purse.
And police are looking for suspects in the theft of Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's purse. Noem says her bag was stolen from a D.C. restaurant over the weekend with $3,000, her passport and DHS access card, and apartment keys inside.
Her DHS access card. I feel like that's not made enough of a deal of. Her DHS access card, like, that's a national security threat. Everyone should be outraged about this shit. She had her purse stolen, but she stole my heart. She can be my GOP mommy, Kristi Noem.
Purse. Noem says her bag was stolen from a D.C. restaurant over the weekend with $3,000, her passport and DHS access card, and apartment keys inside, among other things. A DHS official says the secretary had the large amount of cash because her family was in town and she was treating them to Easter celebrations.
I like, Flash, you want to believe that there is like a conspiracy. I just think they're that dumb. I never assume malice when ignorance will suffice, right? I don't think they're smart enough to be able to pull off some insurance fraud or a handover of some sort of information to a foreign malicious source for some reason. I just think they're stupid. I just think they're stupid. Speaking of stupid, the Secretary of Defense is very stupid.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people.
Did you hear how his voice went up like that? How long is he lasting? Does he make it through this week?
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people.
That is Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The location there, the White House South Lawn. Today was the Easter egg roll day. That's why you heard the music, saw the little picket fence behind there and all that other stuff. This following allegations that, for a second time, the Defense Secretary shared details of an impending airstrike on a Signal group chat. Among those on that chat, his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. President Trump, not upset. Listen.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Oh, the story is that Hegseth is on his way out, that people behind the scenes are furious with him. So I absolutely assume they're putting on some sort of a face. This is some PR stunt, but like the story I read from Politico, I think it was that they are looking for a replacement. That they are actively on the hunt for somebody to step into that role. I think NPR actually said that he was out earlier today, but then they had to retract that. Ducky, good evening.
James Laporta joins me now, and Barbara Starr joins me. Barbara is a longtime Pentagon correspondent, currently a senior fellow with the University of California's Annenberg Center on Communication Leadership. James, of course, national security coordinating producer for CBS News. James, what do we know about this? And just
Chris and Christy Nome.
Piggyback off what the president said. It is new, actually.
Right.
The second story, and it's very new, just to remind the audience, for any defense secretary to share any information of this sensitivity on Signal, an unsecured commercial app. So it is new.
Right. So the first time around with the Atlantic story was you had the principals involved that you would typically see in airstrikes involving the Houthis.
Secretary of State, National Security Advisor,
That's right.
CIA,
Right.
Director of National Intelligence.
And their subordinates. And those are typically, so other than, Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic, those are typically people you would see involved in those kind of
Those would be
airstrikes.
people read in on this.
Correct. Not typically on Signal,
no,
but they would be involved. This Signal chat is different. We have individuals who are not Defense Department employees. Pete Hegseth's wife, who's a former Fox News producer. To our knowledge, she has no security clearance and does not work at the Department of Defense. Pete Hegseth's brother and his attorney, they are Department of Defense employees, but arguably, you have to question why would they be involved in conversations like that. But again, this is all happening over Signal. These conversations shouldn't be happening. If you talk to military professionals, people in the IC, these are conversations that are more suited for the classified side of the house, what we call the high side or JWICs. You would have these conversations over top secret
and highly secure communications,
what we call SCIFs.
Right.
You would not be doing this over Signal.
And briefly, for the audience's benefit, what did he talk to or share about?
He shared
Signal.
He shared similar information about these FA-18s. Hornets are going to be involved in the.
Wait, what? She's fucking Corey Lewandowski
that we saw, come out from the Atlantic.
I can take him.
And to your experience and your previous reporting, had someone of lesser rank in the intelligence community,
I can take him.
Done this, what would have happened?
Oh, they'd have the book thrown at them. They'd be court-martialed. They'd be administratively separated. They would, regardless if the information is classified or not. There's no dispute amongst people that I've talked to that it's a violation of operational security and it's a violation of the cybersecurity policies. You're just simply not allowed to use Signal for these type of communications. And if it was a private, if it was a sergeant, if it was a high-ranking field grade officer, they'd be in trouble.
Barbara, there's also something else that's been going on at the Pentagon for the last couple of weeks. And John Elliott, who used to be an employee at the Pentagon, a high-ranking person brought there by Pete Hegseth, has since
Major is dumbfounded.
Op-ed in Politico saying that there is a sort of meltdown going on at the senior ranks of the Pentagon, and it's disserving the president.
It's a lot of drama. It's a lot of political drama. We see this in Washington, but let me make 2 points. Not to this scale. We have something like 5 senior aides that Hegseth brought in himself, now out the door. So that says something perhaps about his judgment about who he wanted to hire. But I think the deeper issue, even beyond the Washington political drama, is why does it matter? Why should the average American actually care about all this? And it is because it threatens national security. Hypothetical, but what if the Chinese got a hold and were able to crack into Hegseth's own personal phone, which he used in this case, and what if they were able to crack into Signal and download and look at his...
They probably don't even have to crack into it. He's just added them to the chat.
Lack of judgment. It's a Secretary of Defense who should know better. He served in the U.S. military.
Apparently, the information's been going through a Russian server.
An immediate interest by President Trump to replace him. And I emphasize immediate. I circle back now to Washington drama. We've all been through these scandals. I think it's a fair bet that Hegseth could face the possibility, let me caveat, of potentially not serving out a full term.
And you spent years at the Pentagon. I was there in the lead up to.
I'm asking how long does he last?
I picked up there is this.
Does he make it to the end of the week?
Of communication and trust and reliability.
Chat, what do you think? Does he make it to the end of the week?
At minimum, is a bit up for grabs right now under this current leadership.
Trust and reliability in the senior ranks, absolutely. Trust by Congress, trust by America's allies, trust by other defense ministers around the world that he needs to deal with, that he may want to have conversations with.
He didn't get confirmed until like what, into March?
Their confidential conversations with Pete Hegseth.
So he made like a Scaramucci and a half.
Chat on his own personal phone, possibly for the Chinese or any hacker to get into. These are the real questions.
If I had to guess, he gets dumped on Friday.
White House. Does Pete Hegseth tonight still have credibility?
Saturday morning.
On the international stage.
Something like that.
And does he have credibility with Congress?
I'll get it.
Especially with the Republicans. Yes, with most of them, many of them, but you're beginning to see some cracks in that credibility. And that's where, cliche, the rubber's going to hit the road for
Armed Services Committee Chairman Roger Wicker, call your office. Barbara Starr, James Laporta, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Shut up, Major. Fire resist. Welcome in. Democrats, 4 of them, made it down to South America today to try to secure the release of, is it Alberto Abrego Garcia?
Let's go now to El Salvador. That's where David Noriega is standing by. You're in El Salvador, David. That's where Kilmar Abrego Garcia and others
Kilmar.
held.
How'd I fuck that one up?
Ground there.
Alberto.
Well, Ryan, it depends on who you ask. I've spent the day talking to a number of different sorts of people here, including some ordinary Salvadorans whom I've been asking about, the Bukele government generally, but also these deportations from the United States. Generally speaking, the Bukele government here is extremely popular because of the advances that he's made, the progress that he's made in the security situation. This is a country that was previously really riven by gang violence, and that gang violence has significantly subsided. At the same time, people are extremely wary of criticizing the government because a lot of people have been swept up in this very wide-ranging crackdown on the gangs, which President Bukele himself has admitted has swept up some innocent people who are now in the prisons. Now, also, Ryan, I should point out that there are 4 U.S. Democratic lawmakers on the ground in El Salvador here today who said they are here to put pressure on both the Trump and Bukele governments to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia, or at minimum to establish access between Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his family or his counsel. They have not achieved those goals, Ryan, but they also say that they are here for media and political reasons, to keep public attention on this case. That, they say, is something that they have achieved. I interviewed one of those congressmen here in El Salvador this morning, Maxwell Frost from Florida. He's the youngest congressman currently, and this is what he had to say. Take a listen.
It was like President Bukaki.
That we draw the line here and that we come here to ensure that we keep this added pressure on the Trump administration to bring Kilmar back to the United States so he can go through due process. This is on behalf of my constituents. I'm not the type of legislator to wait till something gets to the point where it's so bad we can't do anything about it. Now's the chance. Now's the time to take a stand and say this is not right.
Now, Ryan, the response from Republicans to this has been pretty mocking. They think that this is politically a winning.
Republicans have been down there
good for them
doing photo ops,
visiting El Salvador, and in their view, advocating for people that they describe as violent criminals and gang members. In fact, the National Republican Congressional Committee.
It is getting tiring talking to dipshits who argue that, the left is defending criminals. The left is defending criminals. No, right here, the left is defending the Constitution. As a fascist move to bring it down to this one individual case and be like, oh no, he's an unsavory character, so we should be allowed to violate his rights. Absolute fascist move. You should see it coming a mile away. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. And that is why the left stands up for everyone and their due process. I hate it when the dumbass was in chat the other day. He kept talking about you defend George Floyd, that he held a gun to a pregnant woman. And I'm like, no one is defending George Floyd. They're defending the Constitution. His constitutional rights were violated. And nobody ever brings up the criminal history of Derek Chauvin, who was committing tax fraud in the tens of thousands, who was convicted of assaulting a young teenager. Violated his civil rights. Why does no one ever bring up the criminal history of Derek Chauvin? It's bullshit. It is political propaganda to use that one aspect to try to get you to disregard constitutional protections. It's insane. They claim to be a lot of things, Torchy. It's virtue signaling. They talk about virtue signaling all the time. It's like that critically thinking veteran. You don't critically think, that's you virtue signaling. You claim to be a constitutional conservative. You're not conservative, and you don't give a shit about the Constitution. It's virtue signaling. They don't even know what the Constitution says. They never read it. Or they wouldn't be over here cheering on Trump trying to evade court review. Over the weekend, the Supreme Court actually stepped in and has paused the Trump administration using the Aliens Enemies Act to deport people. The ACLU deputy director speaking on this with NBC.
Turning now to the latest fight between the Trump administration and the courts over the president's immigration crackdown. In a rare overnight order this weekend, the Supreme Court temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deporting Venezuelan migrants and alleged gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. The Trump administration now asking the Supreme Court to lift that hold. This video captured by NBC News on Friday afternoon shows a bus with Venezuelan migrants departing the Bluebonnet Detention Center and heading towards the airport in North Texas before abruptly turning around and returning to the ICE facility. An administration official confirming the U-turn came after DHS was told to cancel the trip, while a court hearing about those detainees was underway. Joining me now is NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley and NBC News correspondent David Noriega, who is on the ground in El Salvador. Julia, let's start with you. What do we know about these migrants who are about to be deported?
Well, there are about 28 of them. We've seen a list of those names. Now, 9 of them were given, there was some level of detail given about 9 of them to Fox News, including some pretty long rap sheets. But that leaves out 19 people. Some of those have actually been interviewed by NBC. In fact, Vaughn Hilliard was able to speak to one of them inside. Now, these are people who say that they have no ties to TDA. Many of them, especially the one Vaughn interviewed, no tie to TDA or MS-13. Those are the two.
Trinidad is a fun name.
Under the Alien Enemies Act. And despite some tattoos, it's really hard to figure out exactly why they pick these people, especially if they're tattoos that have seemingly no real connection to the gang MS-13, which has very explicit tattoos, or Tren de Aragua, which also uses a few, although some are more nebulous, like a rose, but there's some that are very clear-cut to that gang. So
yeah, if you've ever seen an MS-13 gang member, it's like MS-13 on their chests. It's very obvious.
We've seen a lot of cases where people can explain exactly why they have certain tattoos. And look, all this comes down to the fact that they weren't given due process. So we don't get to see how it'd be presented in a court of law, any criminal allegations in their past, what they've been convicted of, who they may have paid when they came across the border. We don't get to see that because we're really being told to take them at their word.
Okay, so there's been
I think Tren de Aragua is also a
Supreme Court ordered the Trump administration
American gang, isn't it?
Did they explain their reasoning? And we did have 2 justices, Scalia and Alito, that disagreed with that order. Why?
Yeah, it's getting really fractured across the district courts and who should exactly be weighing in at this point. But 7 out of the 9 justices said, in fact, there should be a pause on Trump deporting immigrants under the Alien Enemies Act, and they wanted to wait until the Fifth Circuit could weigh in part because it looked like the Trump administration was not obeying their order to give people due process. They first said,
yeah,
you can use the Alien Enemies Act, but people have the right to prove whether or not they're part of these classes that are now considered enemies. Right. Of course, that was the same kind of rights we gave the Nazis in World War II. It's hard to imagine we wouldn't do that in this case, but you saw a strong dissent from Alito and from Thomas, saying that this was going way beyond the court's jurisdiction, that they should have left it up to the Northern District of Texas that did not grant a class temporary restraining order that would have allowed this to happen, and they should have allowed the Fifth Circuit to weigh in, and they thought that the Supreme Court...
Yeah, this is a huge deal. Now, whether or not the Trump administration complies with this, it looks like they're going to. That was the bus turning around.
...is overstepping there.
And I know there's another case you're watching.
No, Alito and Thomas agreed with Trump that he should be able to just deport anybody he wants. The rest of the Supreme Court disagreed. Gorsuch, Coney Barrett, and Roberts agreed with the liberals.
Yeah, the government facing a deadline now to provide some answers. What are you watching for here?
Yeah, this could actually be one where we get more answers than we've seen in some of the broader cases. Even though it's so narrowly about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, what the judge in this case has asked for, and she may walk toward a contempt order if she doesn't get it, is details about that contract between the U.S. and El Salvador. We know there are a lot of secret parts of this contract, how much the U.S. is paying, how long people are staying there, what the conditions are like, anything about how they can appeal or ever get...
Oh, and Kavanaugh. I left Kavanaugh off, didn't I?
Been in a black box. So she's asking for those answers so that the plaintiffs in this case, or rather that Kilmar Abrego's legal team can say, look, he doesn't meet these criteria. He should not be there. And perhaps this is one avenue, although in the past they've really been reluctant to provide answers on anything having to do with this prison.
Okay, Julia Ainsley, as always, watching a lot for us today.
Thanks,
we appreciate it. Let's go now to El Salvador. That's where David Noriega is standing by. You're in El Salvador, David. That's where Kilmar Abrego Garcia and others are being held. What are you hearing on the ground there?
Well, Ryan, it depends on who you ask. I've spent the day talking to a number of different sorts of people here, including some ordinary Salvadorans whom I've been asking about, the Bukele government generally, but also these deportations from the United States. Generally speaking, the Bukele government here is extremely popular because of the advances that he's made, the progress that he's made in the security situation. This is a country that was previously really riven by gang violence, and that gang violence has significantly subsided. At the same time, people are extremely wary of criticizing the government.
He said the same exact thing before. Harvard University taking the Trump administration to court. Let's see if they can get a win. They were denied another $1 billion in funding and research grants and shit.
Some breaking news just into us. We have just learned in the last maybe 90 seconds, Harvard University is now suing the Trump administration over those multi-billion-dollar cuts to research funding for the school. Harvard is calling it in this suit unconstitutional and illegal. Now, this is the latest development in an escalating showdown that you probably already know about. We've been talking about it for days now. The university, Harvard, resisted a list of demands from the Trump administration on things like eliminating its DEI program altogether and mandatory sharing of some admissions and hiring data. Let me bring in Antonia Hilton, who's joining us now. I believe, Antonia, this lawsuit has been officially fired. I don't believe we have a response from the Trump administration yet, but bring us up to speed.
We do not have that response.
I'm amazed at how many colleges have rolled over, so good for Harvard.
Aggressive and sort of comprehensive pushback that we have seen from one of these universities. So many of them have come under fire from the Trump administration, and their sort of stated aims here have been to root out, to combat anti-Semitism and violence on college campuses like Harvard's. But Harvard's lawsuit now is arguing that this has, and their demands have, been a violation of the school's First Amendment rights and is outright unconstitutional. They describe the administration threatening.
On the one hand, Samson, I agree. Harvard has a lot of money, but also they do a shit ton of research. The money that was frozen, given to them was research grants going towards scientists that are actually working on good shit that the market would not facilitate. So, I'm torn. Yes, in terms of endowments and shit like that, Harvard probably doesn't need money, but in terms of research, they really do. So we have to parse out exactly what we're talking about.
them with unprecedented interference in their operations. As you mentioned, the desire to audit the beliefs of students and faculty and change much of the way the school operates, and then also with the loss of billions of dollars. And there's a lot of attention in this lawsuit on what that would really mean here. Harvard is the oldest institution of learning in the U.S. It leads
Law Dog, welcome in.
billions of dollars of value in terms of economic value, biotechnological value, the life-saving cancer research alone. A lot of attention is paid to that here. And the other thing is that much of this is actually happening at hospitals and sort of ancillary parts of the Harvard community and campus that have nothing to do with what's been going on with protests on the undergraduate campus that all of us would be visually familiar with itself. And so Alan Garber, who, by the way, is Jewish and has himself fought anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus and spoken out against it, he's really advancing the argument here that what the Trump administration is doing, he says, is using this as sort of a cover to take control of the university. And now Harvard and presumably maybe other universities are trying to push back in this much more aggressive manner. Hallie.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking
Shut up, Lester.
on the NBC News.
Fucking Lester always running his gums. I did some fungus with my best friend over the weekend. He got a little freaked out, wanted me to sober him up, so I put on, it was the Hall of Fame. It was the WWE Hall of Fame, and Triple H was talking, and he talked for like 2 hours. And I was just like, Triple H still talking, man. Like, this should sober you up. It was not fun. He killed my buzz. I had to have a talk with him and tell him to stop being a little bitch. That's what snapped him out of it. Like, I put up with it for so long, and I'm like, brother, you're just too high. You are being a fucking bitch right now. Stop it. It's my best friend, and I did it to him. I got him too high. Trump tariffs like delinquent kid extorting somebody, according to a Japanese lawmaker. They apparently just walked out of the meeting with the Trump administration. Japanese opposition lawmaker Shinji Oguma of the Constitutional Democratic Party has lashed out at the U.S. and President Donald Trump over his tariffs, warning the ruling party to resist America's demands, which he likened to extortion. Newsreach reached out to the White House by email on Friday morning for comment. The U.S. and Japan held its first round of talks to determine trade and security ties moving forward in the new political climate since Trump took office, and following his plan to introduce aggressive tariffs to try to reshape global trade. Japan is among the first countries open to negotiating with the U.S. The president and other administration officials said the phone lines have been ringing off the hook. Trump hailed the talks as big progress, while Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba warned that the talks could prove difficult since he was not considering big concessions for the sake of securing a quicker deal. Of course, the negotiations will not be easy going forward, but President Trump has stated that he wants to give top priority to the talks with Japan, Ishiba said after Wednesday's talks with the U.S., which Trump attended. Oguma, in a speech during a parliamentary committee hearing, told Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Iwari that the nation should resist Trump's demands, likening the U.S. approach to a delinquent kid extorting someone. If Japan listens to this and bends the other way in response to the impossible demands of bargaining and deals, it will set a bad example as a customary and historical precedent. If you get mugged and put money in their hands, they will come back to mug us. Aguma called Trump's tariff formula a mess and questioned it if it was safe for a serious person to go there and negotiate with the U.S. Consider every option, but you should never make concessions to someone who is not straight up anyway. I hope that you will never give in to the American extortionists. I know this is harsh to say, but they are extortionists. If you listen to what they say, it will be a really bad example. Iowa, meanwhile, has called for a diplomatic approach to the still developing U.S. trade policy, comparing the regular changes to a daily menu. He previously called the tariffs regrettable, according to Japanese outlet Kyoto News. Despite Trump's decision to walk back reciprocal tariffs against trade partners, Japan faces a 10% baseline tariff and a 25% tax on imported cars, auto parts, and steel and aluminum exports. Recorded a trade deficit in its March-April fiscal year, but racked up a surplus with the U.S. according to provisional data. The president opened the first round of trade negotiations with Japan on April 16th, and it was a very productive meeting. The Trump administration, America First trade policy benefits all Americans. We are safer when other nations invest in the country. President Trump is creating jobs, raising wages, and bringing manufacturing back to the United States. That's according to the State Department. Trump Secretary Scott Bessent wrote on X, following yesterday's meetings with Minister Rozai Akazawa of Japan, I'm glad that our discussions on trade are progressing in a highly satisfactory direction, with many thanks to POTUS for hosting our very productive talks and putting us on the path towards the best possible deal for American people. We look forward to more positive conversations with our friends from Japan soon. Economist Peter Schiff wrote on Twitter that so far Switzerland, Japan, and the EU are winning Trump's trade war. Their currencies are surging against the U.S. dollar. That means that our goods are getting much cheaper for them, while their goods are getting more expensive for us. Add in tariffs and liberation is expensive. Spencer Hakimian, the founder of Tulu Capital Management, wrote on Twitter, it's pretty funny how after all these trade meetings, Trump just goes out and tweets, "Went amazing, so much progress." The other country involved, Europe, Japan, come out and say, "Disaster, we have no clue what the U.S. is even asking us to do. Just a total circus." Ooh, it left out some of the best part. I don't know where that reporting came from. Let me find that again. I thought this was the article that this came from, but apparently not. The Japanese had just been in Washington. Their experience apparently was that they went to talk to the American leadership on this matter, and the American leadership said, "What are you offering?" And the Japanese said, "Well, what is it that you want?" And the Americans could not explain what they wanted. So the Japanese just kind of left. I'm sure this is going to be very good for the markets, right? Right. Line go up. Trump is the art of the deal. Line go up. Line go up.
Correspondent Brian Chung joins me now with more on today's market sell-off. Brian, I'm sure many of us are looking at our 401ks wondering, when is this going to end? What was it today that drove the sharp market drop, and should we expect a further market decline in the coming days?
Yeah, Brian, as we've been talking about with the market volatility, until there's more certainty for
Good night, Lenny.
they get a better idea of exactly what the next few weeks and months are going to look like on the tariff front, then we won't get more, or less volatility in this market. But now, compile on top of the tariff policy, the concern that the independent steward of the monetary policy here in the United States, which is the Reserve, might be under fire from the president. You can see markets really rattled today after the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones closed the day just a few minutes ago, down about 2.5%. I want to point out that's off the lows of the day. On the Dow Jones, we were down as much as 3.4% in the middle of the afternoon before there was a little.
It's just all numbers, man. It's all numbers.
You take your 33 and a third chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 and a third chance of winning.
little bit of a bid into the closing bell, but a lot of this is in response to that Truth Social post from the president early this morning, where, as you mentioned, he described Mr. Powell, his own pick during his first administration, as Mr. Too Late, also describing him as a loser, suggesting that he wanted the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates.
Once again, he's calling the dude that he appointed a loser.
The president is also ratcheting up this tariff war on not just China, but other countries around the world, again, trying to get onto the phone to try to broker deals individually with about or even more than 70 countries. So, again, the uncertainty is still out there. Investors clearly don't like it, and neither do people with 401ks that are watching the red across the screen, Ryan.
And let's get into this, what Donald Trump wants the chairman to do. He's asking him to cut interest rates. I mean, what effect could lower rates have on the economy and markets, especially when there's still a serious worry about inflation?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, this is certainly a situation where the Federal Reserve had actually already been in the process of cutting interest rates last year in response to positive progress on inflation. But yeah, you do have this worry that this could really put the Federal Reserve in a difficult bind, because as the president is asking them to lower interest rates, there's also this concern that the tariff policy that's been put in place by the White House would potentially exacerbate inflation. If you're lowering interest rates into an environment where inflation goes up, you can even make inflation go up even higher as a result of that easier monetary policy. But without getting into the Econ 101,
he was a new president at the age of like
that the
68.
president has placed on Jerome Powell, it's nothing new. We saw this in 2018 and 2019 as well, when the president at the time during his first administration
tariff those penguins.
His trade war with China. In that time, he was also jawboning the Fed. 2018, he described the Federal Reserve Chairman as having no touch. He can't putt. He compared him to a golfer. In 2019, he described the Fed chair as a stubborn child. So the Fed chair is used to this type of rhetoric here. I think the question is, does
Trump called someone a stubborn child?
Lowering interest rates more quickly than he would have otherwise done so. That did happen in 2019. You wonder if that happens again this time as well.
All right, Brian Chung, thank you for that update. We appreciate you leading us off.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories.
Shut up, Lester.
News app or follow us.
Irony and satire are dead. We got a couple more stories tonight. Twitchy people, stick around. We're going to be watching the best of Coachella. Best of Coachella tonight. That's your live Music Monday. But before we get to that, Megyn Kelly has thoughts on the relationship of Barack and Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama's still at it.
Still at it.
And in this particular soundbite,
Megyn Kelly is still at it.
She's got thoughts on relationships.
Megyn Kelly's got thoughts.
Relationships are long, and there are also ebbs and flows, right? So I think sometimes people who date don't realize that, you know, in long-term relationships, you're gonna have deep dips, and you're gonna have
a bad year.
You're gonna have a bad. I tell people, and folks think that this is harsh. It's like you're gonna have a bad decade.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've been married to my husband for 30 plus years. I mean, the truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you know,
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You know,
Right.
and that's really how it works out.
She ain't wrong.
Michelle, it's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years, and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
I think you're 100% right.
Really?
Her third episode. I can't think of anybody I would go to for advice less than Michelle Obama. She really doesn't know what she's talking about. First of all, she loves to tell us she hated Barack for a good decade.
Yes.
Okay, please teach me how to have a successful relationship
Right.
with someone that you clearly respect and admire. Every time she's on the air, it's like, I'm dragging this ball of dead weight behind
One of them is Megyn Kelly.
Obama. He's bringing me down. I'm trying to elevate myself.
And SE, you're exactly right. They didn't get it.
Mouse.
It's so
like
weird.
the two ears up there. These two
Didn't get what she was talking about at all.
Like, what kind of midlife crisis is she in the throes of right now?
No,
she's
Did you
constantly.
see the other one where she had the three balls on the back of her head, and I think it was Benny Johnson was calling it her Stegosaurus cut. That's what it looks like.
Oh, Benny Johnson.
Stegosaurus.
I think that her. Do you remember Meghan McCain used to go on The View? with those.
Yeah.
And everybody's theory was that her styling team, like her glam squad, must be working out some animus towards her because like anyone else would be like, no.
Talking about a black woman's hair.
Good idea.
And she's also Michelle.
Super straight Benny Johnson, indeed.
That wound of like, are we divorcing? Don't be gossiping about us. You know, I'm just trying to be an independent woman over here. I hate my husband, but I love my husband. But, you know, when she's not doing that, so her brother is her podcast co-host. She's constantly berating him. Like every episode, you didn't tell me you were having marital problems. Like he has to
Did I have an
explain to
obligation?
her a million freaking times, hey, I was trying to work out my marriage. And if it did work out and I told you what the problems were, you would hold a grudge against my wife for the rest of your days.
All relationships have ebbs and flows. Nothing she said was controversial.
It's amazing. Every word.
But I mean, they just need something to talk about, and Michelle Obama is good content. Their audience hates Michelle Obama.
But Barack Obama is negative.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of her sitting there just waxing poetic about him, complimenting, he's brilliant, he's a great dad, he was the greatest president, whatever a normal wife of Barack Obama would say. Every time she opines, it's something that reflects poorly on him, how he's insensitive, how he's not a talker, how he doesn't know how to relate to people, he doesn't keep the same schedule as she does, and now we're talking about you can have a bad decade in a marriage?
I think that's a very
What's that? Is that John Lennon behind her?
Position to take or to advise other people to gut it out for 10 years of misery. I mean, first of all, what that would do to you physically alone, I would never want to sign up for that. And secondly, does she not realize that by talking shit about her partner of decades, first black president of the United States, she's talking shit about herself. Lady, you chose him.
Yeah. And we would never know who you are if it hadn't been for him.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sure she would say the reverse. He would never have been president if it hadn't been for her. Like, she was the inspo. She was the strength. And the force.
I've never heard her say anything like that.
He was very young. We just actually saw a video of him
Objectively.
on the campus of Harvard Law School in favor of, like, more black professors and so on. He still had the Barack Obama orator skills.
Yep.
Like, he was obviously a star in the making from a very young age.
Very young age.
I'm sure she thinks it's her, but I think it actually was him. And some of his ex-girlfriends talk about how he
This is just the caddy hour with Megyn Kelly.
black
Caddy Kelly over
as
here.
opposed to the white women he'd been dating, and he's half white too.
Yep.
Right. And so like to get him the street cred he needed with Chicago voters where he started. And she was it. And
Whoa!
She's doing a podcast, which we are only listening to. By the way, we're not listening to it.
Right.
Because she's former first lady.
Right.
That's no one listens to a former lawyer.
I'm only listening to you because you're talking about Michelle Obama.
With her brother on her thoughts on relationships. We're doing it because he made you first lady, but she does not have a kind word for him.
He made her famous. And aside from
She talks glowingly about him all the time. I've heard it.
Didn't Valerie Jarrett give Michelle Obama like a no-show administrative job at a Chicago hospital, like $600K a year, while they were all getting ready? They were all grooming Barack to be president, right? That young of an age, the Chicago political apparatus knew this guy could go to the White House, right? So they were like, let's take care of him and let's take care of the wife and like, let's make sure, everything's seamless. I also really do think the root of her rage is
who the fuck is this woman?
Star. He was born with many gifts that through self-esteem and great education, he allowed himself to cultivate. He allowed himself to achieve greatness. She grinds it out. She's grinding it out on this podcast. You listen to this podcast, you're like, why am I listening to this woman bitch and moan and complain? I've got better things to do with my free time.
And you know what else is very clear?
I don't have any news left. I've only got bullshit. I've only got some bullshit to, decompress on. If you don't want to hear about Barack Obama and Michelle Obama's fucked up relationship, you're probably not going to want to hear about this fucked up relationship either.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Kanye says that he had sex with his male cousin as a teen. Hold on, let me get the actual tweet here. Let me get the tweet. I'll get it up here for you. The fact that this is real, my God. This song is called Cousins, about my cousin is locked in jail for life for killing a pregnant lady a few years after I told him we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. Perhaps in my self-centered mess, I felt it was my fault that I showed him those dirty magazines when he was 6, and then we acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found in the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I sucked my cousin's dick till I was 14.
I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
Kanye West is claiming he and a now incarcerated male cousin sexually experimented with each other when they were kids, an experience he's turned into a new song. Believe it contributed to both of their dark paths. Debuting a new grungy song called Cousins on Monday, Ye sings... Now we've got more than just Coachella to listen to. Ye sings about stumbling upon adult magazines as a kid, noting the mags he found in his late mother Donda's possession were of the homosexual variety. Ye says he eventually showed the mags to his cousin. They reenacted the male-on-male kissing scenes, leading Ye to eventually suck his dick until the age of 14. The accompanying visual for Cousins spliced together various clips of video games and semi-pornographic images as Ye crooned about giving his cousin head on the chorus.
Kanye West essentially is saying White Lotus ain't got nothing on me.
Yes, he is very openly in a new song describing a incestuous relationship that he says he had with a male cousin when they were teenagers. The song that he dropped today...
I'm not high enough for this shit.
Play a little bit of it for you. There's a whole explanation of how this relationship started, but this is what he's claiming. And again, we hear a lot...
Go on, clinically. Go on. Tell me to go back to Megyn Kelly. You know you want to. You know you're regretting your decision now.
Used to hearing outrageous things from Kanye.
In other words, translation, we don't know what's true and what isn't.
Right, but here's what he's saying in the song.
Well, you can kind of figure that out.
Yeah.
So, look, we don't know. He has been off the rails now for months. I mean, not weeks.
Months?
For months.
Months? 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 Years? Years? Maybe decades?
And, you know, is this real? Maybe.
This is a cousin he's referred to before. This is a cousin he says is actually doing time. He's in prison now for murdering someone, and he's talked about that cousin in public before,
but not about this.
But never about this alleged relationship between them.
Yeah, Kanye's social media has kind of been hinting that he wants to reveal some things lately. Yeah, we don't know if it's true or not, but the song, you know, really does go into detail about what happened.
I'm a cousin fucker. I'm a cousin fucker.
Lesbian, and they discovered some magazines that, you know, led them to experiment on each other, him and his cousin.
We should explain because we had to censor some.
Nobody clipped that.
Was that the magazines that he found in his mom's room or somewhere in the house showed gay sex, and that he and his cousin decided they wanted to try some of it is, and I wonder what, I don't know where his cousin is incarcerated.
Is it possible, look, we don't know, but is it possible that all of the talk about White Lotus, because
made him feel like I want to say something that's gonna,
whether it's...
Stop telling me to watch White Lotus, goddammit.
Because that's what he's done. I mean,
you people with your White Lotus.
With other things, with Kim, he tapped into it, and it's like,
I don't know. It's so hard.
Well, we don't know
it's
if it's
just hard
true,
to
but
tell.
it does sound like he's going to deliver more messages in his music going to line. This is just the first of the latest album that he plans on releasing. So.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it looks like he is now back with Bianca Censori. You know that they...
No, that poor woman.
In fact,
they've gone to divorce lawyers
3 times he's been since October.
Right. And then,
at least.
He dropped a song last month that basically, or earlier this month, where he was begging Bianca to come back to him. And apparently it worked because they were seen together in Spain going to a restaurant. I don't know if this means that everything is back hunky-dory with him, but they...
And she's clothed.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it's relevant.
There's a difference.
For once, she's clothed, yes.
Totally is this Madrid?
Mallorca.
Mallorca?
Yeah.
Look, she has been to a divorce lawyer, we know.
Alejandro Mayorkas.
It's been 3 times. At least 2 of the 3 said, I'm not going to represent you.
Right.
Because they just didn't want to. A third, he was going to file for divorce, and that fell apart and decided not to. So we know of all of those, and there may be more.
Right.
But
for now,
it looks like
they're at least doing dinner together.
They're doing dinner.
This is Spooky from Texas. In terms of the cousin issue with Kanye's
Spooky?
I don't know whether it's a art he's doing, is fact, fiction, or a combination. Either way, it doesn't change the fact he needs help. And in terms of his wife, unless they're pulling a stunt together, I don't think they're back together.
Well, why would they be in Spain?
I'm not high enough for this cousin fucking shit.
It's like their relationship is stunt-driven. That is what that relationship is about, stunt-driven. If they're just out and about, I don't think they're together. I think it has to be some sort of stunt that Kanye is pulling for them to really be together.
But if he is telling her, I want to do this stunt, what's in it for her to do it?
Well, money.
People know who she is. She's famous. Her body's been everywhere. Fame will do a lot for people.
I like her point of view. I like that she's strong in this.
Yeah.
No, I like
I mean, there are people who have not believed that this relationship is like an actual normal marriage.
I think it's a real relationship. I mean, I think it's a real
relationship, but what? Well,
don't make me decode.
I voted Donda. We're doing Best of Coachella tonight. Apparently we don't have to listen to the Cousin Fucker song now, but I got a couple of Pope songs that we're going to fire up before we do the Best of Coachella for Live Music Monday. Here's a puppy. He's scared of the waves. And he loses his ball. But never fear, his brother comes and brings his ball back to him. Little baby scared of the water. Warlord, what are you doing up so late? How are you, my friend? You excited for Live Music Monday? Is that why you're here? That's what a big brother's for. Oh, he's so scared of the water. He's upset. He can't get his ball. What sweet babies. You're watching on Kick, Rumble, Facebook. Listen to the podcast, YouTube. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live.